Humans are a funny group. We have the ability to fantasize and create and imagine everything from norms to movies, right? Like we can, through the power of our brain, communicate ideas that are persuasive and that can create norms and ways of behavior that astound you. And that's just a very human thing. I'll give religion as an example. Like, people of faith are absolutely boldened and strengthened by their belief, and their entire worldview and behavior is supported by that. But they are easy to refute. Another worldview of another faith perspective that another individual can have with the kind of absolute faith and certainty that one would. And that's just my way of trying to explain how humans behave and interact with one another. Given that ability, right, to as a species to understand what it is that you perceive, value, hold on to, and navigate your life through, we're also prone to put blinders on when things are not comfortable for us to accept. And again, in society, we do that. There's a certain growth and we dismiss it. That's nothing. You know, you don't want to say the C word, so you rationalize, you deflect, you do things to bring peace or comfort to yourself. I believe that for many people who are climate deniers, it is a comfortable way to navigate through something that should cause you an incredible amount of stress, to allow doubt to guide you. For someone like President Trump, who is currently saying, oceans will rise, an inch or something like that, to be dismissive about it, you can wrap your head and rationalize things based on a set of views that others want you to believe in. So I don't blame that person who tries to find comfort from a painful place. In fact, I try to help that person with facts and with reframing and making them understand what the real consequences are. What I despise and abhor are people who intentionally deceive for greed. Our climate crisis shouldn't be a political issue. It should not be a partisan, ideological issue. There should be no divide. This is, a hurricane's coming. All of us together are going to try to solve the hurricane problem. The same thing with the climate crisis. All of us should be in sync, working together to try to solve the problem. The reason that doesn't happen is because there's a reason that we're having a climate crisis, and that is because we are polluting. We're putting too much carbon in the atmosphere. And that is happening because of our addiction to fossil fuels. And our addiction to fossil fuels comes from the time of the Industrial Revolution, where we have used fossil fuels, carbon, to energize everything in our lives, to produce things, to move, to shelter, to do everything. Everything that we do is based on that fossil fuel economy. And the people who are at the height, the people who control, who are involved with the fossil fuel economy, the oil companies, petroleum industry, refuses to pivot because they have a lot of infrastructure, they have a lot of investment, that they can still continue to enrich themselves. And although it is against the public interest, although it hurts the epidemiological state of our nation, because it continues to hurt our lungs and poison our waters, because it continues to destroy our quality of life and the future of our progeny, policymakers should pivot and just move towards a clean energy economy, and they do not out of greed. They do not because they are beholden to a fossil fuel industry that controls both parties. FP&L controls both parties in both houses in the legislature. And until we can reward our politicians in ways that don't get countered by the benefit that they get from the lobbyists who help propel their campaigns, we're going to continue in this space. Another way of saying it is, and maybe we can start here, greed is the reason why we are in a climate catastrophe. And the greed of the corporate and fossil fuel industry is unlike any other. The influence that they have makes them unable, unwilling to want to pivot and change. And they do a great job in greenwashing and telling you that they're experimenting and looking at new possibilities. But bottom line, Exxon wants its business model of drilling and pumping carbon into the atmosphere. And there are other ways of us growing our economy and providing for shelter and manufacturing that do not emphasize old, dirty energy. And that doesn't happen because it is not in the interest of those in power to continue with that. And what they do, and do very, very well, is what the tobacco industry did. Fully aware that tobacco harmed our lungs, they sowed doubt, they hid the truth from consumers. And today, all that the fossil fuel industry needs to do is do a little bit of greenwashing, sponsor a couple of museum shows, put some ads on television with happy, smiley people showing you some scientists who are going to do some nice things, while they continue to invest the majority of their dollars in drilling and engaging in that. And what I think happens is that for society in general, with a lack of information, that fantasy becomes a reality. And when that particular fantasy is advanced by a political party and wrapped into an ideological agenda with cute little slogans like "Drill, baby, drill," or by throwing out red herrings, or by conflating issues that have nothing to do with the other, then people get duped, and they get duped really easily. And that particularly happens when the threat feels distant, where it doesn't feel as if you're poisoning the water that my baby's going to drink, where it feels like some faraway problem decades away or continents away. And what I try to do is let people understand that the threat is here, literally now, and that the victim is you. And that if you knew that someone was hurting you or your child, you wouldn't sit there quietly, you would do something about it. And art is what allows us to break through the spectacle created by the fossil fuel industry that sows doubt and is fueled by greed.